Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, how many of us drive a car? Probably pretty much everybody. Okay. How many of us have ever been in an accident? Probably a vast majority, if not most of us, right? Okay. Yeah. How many of you, when you get on the highway, are a little extra careful when you're around a semi truck or something? Not that the drivers are bad or anything, but you know it's harder to see around them. You see all the signs on the back of the truck. If you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. And yet we all see people driving every day who are tailgating semis or anything, right? And you're just a little more careful. You get caught up in that wind drag and it'll blow you around the road a little bit. You can't see past them or around them what's going on. So you keep your distance, trying to stay safe, right? Because, no offense, but an accident between a semi and a car, or even a big pickup truck, usually doesn't end well for the person driving the POV, personally owned vehicle. Okay. Semis are big. Well, we've heard all this stuff over the last few years of autonomous cars. Oh, you can get in your car, tell it you want to go to work, and you can read the newspaper or do your makeup while your car drives you to work, right? And we've seen the stories of people going to jail because their autonomous car, well, they were sitting there putting lipstick on, ran over a pedestrian or whatever. It doesn't happen every day, sure, no question. But it happens. And that's why they call it an accident. Okay. It's not like people are out there doing it on purposely, for the most part. Okay. Sure, you always get that disgruntled housewife who's going to catches her husband having an affair and decides to run him over 3 times in the driveway. Right. We remember that story. Well, we're finding about the commercial application for this too. And so I ran across something today about a company called Aurora Innovation, based out of Pittsburgh. And they have come up with their autonomous semis. Okay. Deliver goods and services. We don't have to have truck drivers. We can move goods from one place to another. There's no need for downtime for the trucks. Truck driver has to keep a logbook of when they're driving, how much time they can drive, and then they're mandated to take a rest period. Autonomous trucks wouldn't need to do that. So this sounds all great with the pitch until you crunch the numbers. And this is where it gets a little sketchy. All right. So I went and looked at this, and the company claims that, oh, we did really well. We tested our trucks for 1,000,000 miles on autonomous driving. We had a safety person sitting there, but the truck did all the work. Okay. And we only had 3 accidents in 1,000,000 miles. And of course, they blamed it on bad mistakes made by the person in the car, not the autonomous truck, right? Okay. So I took a look at this, and I dug up and figured out numbers and calculated numbers. The most recent ones I could find, all the data I needed, was for 2021. In 2021, there were 494,000 crashes in the United States that involved a semi. Okay. Or nearly 500,000 crashes. That's a lot. Okay. Truck drivers log, according to Department of Transportation, 140 billion miles a year. So if you do the math, that means there is one accident involving a semi in every 283,400 miles driven by a semi. Or, to make the math good, because what Aurora told us, 3 accidents in 1,000,000 miles, semis on the road driven by a living, breathing human being have 3.5 accidents every million miles. Okay, so you could say you're reducing the accident level by a half an accident by a million miles. I'll take that, okay? That's, nearly a 20% improvement on the amount of accidents. I'll take that. That's good. Until you get into the little caveats that they forgot to tell you in their little sales pitch. Quote, though the test runs have only been on simulated roads at lower speeds or public roads with human fail-safe operators on board. Oh, gotcha. Because OTR truck drivers spend so much time moving goods and services on simulated roads at low speed. Tell me how many accidents they have on I-40, I-5, I-80. Let's see how these automated trucks do in the traffic around Boston or Chicago or LA. They didn't tell us that. But they plan on testing this year, guys. All right. 20 driverless trucks on I-45 between Dallas and Houston. Okay. Not the super highly traveled road. A lot. There's plenty of cars there. I've driven that, though it's been years. Okay. But how is it going to do then? So they blame the car drivers, right? So I crunched these numbers. And this is where you get interesting. All right. The average car in the United States is driven 13,489 miles. There are 296 million cars in the United States. So that means, if you do the math, that just under 4 trillion miles are driven by Joe Citizen in his personally owned vehicle. Okay? In 2021, there were 2 million accidents involving cars, which means, if you break the numbers down again, there is 1/2 of one accident per million miles driven in the United States by Joe Average going to work or going to the grocery store. Let me see, you had 3 accidents in 1 million miles, but the average car owner has 1/2 of an accident per million miles. I'm thinking your logic of all of a sudden it was a mistake by the person doesn't hold water. Okay? Because people don't make mistakes as often as your autonomous truck did. Or at least as the autonomous truck got involved in an accident. All right? So basically what I come up with there is these autonomous trucks are no safer than one driven by a person. Okay? We can't even really prove how they do in a higher danger level, i.e. driving on the interstate, okay, where you're going at higher speeds, where it takes much longer for a truck to brake or anything of the sort. But technology, they figure they've got this, okay? But so let's think about the other part on this one. I'm betting all the technology that has to go into these autonomous trucks costs a hell of a lot more than the average salary of an OTR driver, which is $76,000 a year. So, if I got this straight, the accident rate will not decline. The costs of what we have to buy will go up, because obviously we've got to pay for all this technology being put in this truck, and somehow Walmart or Kroger or JCPenney has to recoup the costs of the transportation. Okay? So that all trickles down to the consumer, so we get to pay more. Oh, yeah, and in the process, we'll put 3.5 million truck drivers out of work. Yeah, so the next time you see an Aurora truck on the road, if you see one, especially if you live down in Texas, somewhere between Dallas and Houston, that company is trying to put your neighbor out of work. Forgive me if I don't ask, where do I sign up? Pinball out.